Welcome to Games from Folktales, a podcast that mixes historical research and tabletop role-playing settings. I'm your host, Timothy Ferguson. This week was phyllo pastry, invented by the Order of Hermes. Phyllo pastry has a disputed origin. The name means leaf pastry, which I'll come back to later, and if you accept that the earliest modern dish using it is baklava, it first appears in the 13th century in the Eastern Roman Empire. Baklava is basically interlayered flaky pastry and nuts soaked in syrup or honey. There are earlier dishes which seem something similar. Cato mentions a Roman dish called, disturbingly, a placenta, which appears to be made out of honeyed leaves of pastry. Placenta, in this case, just means layered, and Cato calls an individual piece of pastry a tractus. There are also a few Eastern European meat dishes and a wrapped almond paste from further east. Nevertheless, baklava's ancestors became prevalent in the written record just after the game period. When I say leaf pastry, I'd like a play on words here to suggest the leaves of a book. I first had this idea when I was watching Great British Bake Off. When rolling phyllo, the way to tell if your leaves are thin enough to use is to check if you can read through them. I saw it and thought that if you slipped and dropped the sheet on a medieval manuscript, you'd get trace transfer of the type from the page onto the pastry. This immediately put me in mind of a mystery cult from one of the older supplements where people memorized books perfectly by eating them. Could phyllo, which is made far more easily with Rego magic than by hand, be the invention of a cultist who was sick of eating tanned vellum etched with iron gall ink? How old is this tradition really? We know very little about Yarburton's wife, except she was named Miriam, and she brought honeyed cakes to the first tribunal meeting. The assumption was that these were of the Roman style, but could they have been primer placentas for the new Hermetic magic theory? If this is the case, who wrote them? In the depths of Valnastium, is there a lost xylographic block of magic theory, or is it kept by a secret society that eats its books?